Hi guys, welcome back to Z's Corner. This is Zal. So yesterday I uploaded my first video and I got a lot of great responses. So, thank you guys for the encouragement. I'm already on to my second video. And especially thanks to Preston, one of my alliance mates, for sending me a link to Canva to allow me to do a much more, fancy intro with music. And there's also going to be an outro at the end of this video as well. So thank you, Preston, for sending me that link. One other thing I wanted to kind of talk about is that, I got a shirt. We were talking about it in Alliance chat the other day because I was at the mall with my family, and I found the shirt, and it says, take a look at it. It says, "Let the shenanigans begin." So it's kind of an inside joke. I mean, we've got a few characters in our alliance that kind of like to do fun stuff. So we're always talking about shenanigans in alliance chat and on Discord and all that stuff. So they wanted to see it. So, now you guys see the shirt. I bought it at Von Mar. You guys can try and find it in Von Mar if you have one of those stores near you. Okay. So today's video, it's my second video, is going to be about kind of Ops 38 to 42. So why did I choose Ops 38 to 42 as the range for my second video? Well, 38 is when you start getting into deep space, so it's a good starting point. And then 42 is when you get the first of the G4 ships out, so it's a logical ending point as well. In addition, for server 40 at least, a lot of folks are kind of at this point where you're Ops 37, 38, and you're wondering, hey, how do I go forward? How do I kind of get that next ship out? And I've been through the process, so hopefully you guys can learn from my own past mistakes to see how to kind of progress forward in the game. All right, so I actually did a PowerPoint to kind of help guide me through this topic. You guys can make fun of me for all you want for it, but it helps me organize my thoughts. And we're not going to use the PowerPoint for the entirety of the video. It's only for part of it before we kind of switch back in game. Okay, so basically, when you're at like Ops 37, 38, you have a consideration tree that you have to look at. You have to answer, say, am I free to play? Well, if you're free to play, best to take it slow. Try and get into a big alliance so you can maximize your rewards. That's not really going to be the focus of this video. Do you spend, I think as most people do, between $20 to $200 a month? If that's the case, then continue on, watch the video, because this is really going to, I'm going to try and help you guys out with this video in terms of, what you should be doing and focusing on between 38 and 42. Now, if you spend $500 a month or more, really, that's going to be a focus of the next video, where I think I'm going to talk mostly about packs and pack strategy. So here are the topics we're basically going to cover that's really pertinent to Ops 38 to 42. And one's the ISS Jellyfish, two, the Franklin A, G4 material mining, rep and G4 ship strategy, research, and we're going to touch on rating for a little bit. So the ISS Jellyfish, this used to be like, the ship that everybody was looking forward to. At least it's what I was looking forward to when I first started, and I scrolled all the way to the right on the ship screen, on the ship construction screen of my game, and I saw that ship. It's one of those really beautiful ships, and at the time it was the most powerful ship in the game for me. So now I look back on it and say, it's an okay ship. It's not the best ship, obviously, but the question is, do you really want to build an ISS Jellyfish? This requires shipyard 39, so at Ops 39 you're able to build it. And some people have differing viewpoints as to whether or not you should be actually building this type of ship, because it takes G4 materials, it takes G4 ship components, and the upgrade costs in terms of the basic resources required are pretty high. And some people will say, build it. Some people say don't build it. So in my opinion, I would say, definitely build this ship. And you don't really need to upgrade it that much. Kind of upgrade it to T3 or T4. And you'll be good to go. Why do I say build this ship? I mean, it doesn't perform very well in PvP, mostly because it's kind of like a glass cannon. So it hits pretty hard, but it doesn't have like the hull health or the shield health that the other G4 ships have. So basically, you don't really last too long in a PvP scenario. In fact, in most cases, it can be destroyed by a G3 epic like a USS Enterprise, up until it's probably around tier 8 or tier 9, at which point you've already sunk significant cost in terms of materials, ship components, and resources into this ship. So I say get it, but get it for the events. Every month you get about 5 events. That's kind of split into 2 different types of events, but 5 total events for this ship, and it's only for folks who have ownership of the ship. So it's someone that's already built an ISS, and the rewards on these events are significant to help you progress through your 40s, and that's why I say build it, but don't really tier up that much, because one of the events you don't even need to have an ISS to actually do the event. You just need to have it to be able to participate. The other event, you actually need to use the ISS to kill hostiles, but the hostiles aren't too hard, so you don't need to have it at a very high tier to kind of finish the event in 1 or 2 repairs. Okay, so one of the events here is called the Jellyfish Brawl. You can see from the screenshot here that the rewards are actually really good in regards to a few different things, right? So one is the uncommon ship component. Uncommon ship components are going to be one of your primary barriers to upgrading your G4 ships. So anytime you can get some of those uncommon ship components without having to pay real money for it, it's always a good thing. So you get actually a significant amount, as you can see from the screenshot here. Now, keep in mind, I think this was from when I was Ops 49, so this is kind of max. There is some tiering, but you still get a significant amount even at, let's say, 39 or 40 in terms of the ship components as well as the mats. The mats are listed there in terms of uncommon gas and uncommon refined ore, and 2,000, 1,000 of each. That's a decent amount. So that's definitely a very important reason for you to kind of get the ISS Jelly. Now, when you first get the ship, I would use the earnings from these events and put it towards upgrading the ship to make sure it's at least T3 or T4. And then after that, you can kind of keep saving these components and these mats for other uses as you navigate through your 40s. The second event is called, I can't pronounce it, Civis Pacem Para Bellum. Someone who knows Latin can probably correct me, but anyway, this is also a very good event. This is the one where you just have to have the jelly to kind of participate in the event, but you don't have to use it. Basically, it tells you to go to any of the capital systems, so that being Sol, Romulus, or Kronos, and just kill any of the traders there. You can use your Jellyfish for it. You can use your G3 Epic, like Enterprise, Augur, D4, whatever for it as well, and you can still get the rewards. And the rewards here, are good. There's some lat, 33,000 lat. That's pretty significant for your 40s. You get 3 different types of uncommon ship components, which are really good. And then you also get some 4-star gas, both rare and uncommon, and some 3-star gas, both rare and uncommon. So, based on these 2 events alone, I would say the ISS Jellyfish you definitely need to build. Do you need to spend money to kind of get it? Not unless you're in the other video where you're spending over $500 a month, I think. You can take it slow. As long as you're maxing your G3 Epic Armada chest pulls every few days, you should be able to be in a good position to build an ISS by the time you're 39 or 40. Okay, so next up is the Franklin A. This is a really good ship. Definitely build this ship. If you never built a Franklin, that's understandable. But definitely build a Franklin A, because the resource pools that are coming out of a Franklin A are significant for your 40s and for the G4 economy. And everybody kind of complained about the G4 economy before. Scopely introduced a few different things to alleviate it, and one of those is the Franklin A. So as long even right out of the gate, the Franklin A is better than your old Franklin. If it's maxed, okay. So there's a few different bonuses that come with it. One, of course, is the resource pools that you get from the Franklin A. It's significantly more than what you can get from the regular Franklins, and you definitely need it to help you mitigate some of those pains of progressing through your 40s. I would say, in my honest opinion, I would say, use it mostly for para steel, and dilithium. I've never really had to say those words out loud before. It sounds kind of weird. But anyway, I would use it for those two. Trite, you'll probably be getting some of those through events or through some ship packs, which I can cover in another video. So I don't really use it for trite too much, but I do use it for para, and I do use it for dilly. Dilly being used for research and para being used for your station upgrades mostly. And one of the other bonuses of the Franklin A is that it kind of helps simplifies your swarm dailies. A lot of people used to complain about swarms or heroic swarm being a pain in the rear, but with this, you get a 3x bonus to it, so you don't have to kill nearly as many swarms every single day. So that's one of those hidden bonuses that comes along with the Franklin A. And it's kind of gated for you, so based on your ops level, you have to get different types of warp interlocks to kind of upgrade it. But upgrade it as you can, and if you're going at a decent rate, I mean, you'll always have a Franklin A that you can use to do your swarms in one hull, one repair, or maybe 2 repairs at the most if you're not pushing. So it's a great ship to have, and definitely get it to help you prepare for your 40. Okay, so now we're on to G4 material mining. And before we start on that topic, I just want to kind of make sure everybody understood what deep space is. Deep space is basically unlocked through the main mission chain. So make sure that you're up to date on the main mission chain. And once you get once you're there, they're basically the systems with the little hidden eye icon. That's kind of like that's right here in the upper right hand corner. It's kind of like territory. Basically, it just means that if you don't have a ship or your station's not in that system, you really can't see what's in it. Don't ask me why that's the case. It just seems kind of weird to me that they did it this way, but that it is what it is. So anyway. So in regards to material mining, once you're at Ops 38 and you've unlocked deep space, I would really recommend for you to try and do the material mining as soon as you can. Now, how do you do that? I think you really basically have to rely on your USS Discovery. So hopefully you guys have a Discovery. Hopefully you've upgraded it enough to the point where you can almost reach deep space. And you really can't do that actually without doing some of the research. So when I say that, if you pull up the Galaxy tab, I'm going to pull up the research real quick. If you pull it up, so here on the Galaxy tab and you scroll to the right, you'll see something called USS Discovery Warp Range. So as long as you're kind of upgrading this, I think 39 or 40 is when it makes it really easy for you to reach the deep space nodes. So make sure you keep this up to date and you're upgrading it. It takes sports components as well, so make sure you're doing your anomalous phenomena events every Sunday to kind of keep up with those sport component pulls as well. But with this, you can basically summon your G3 miners into deep space systems to do the material mining, at least until you get to the point where your deep space, your G3 miners are maxed and they can reach the fringe of deep space by themselves. You don't really need to max the Discovery right away because, it uses gas and there's a significant trite cost. That's something that you can kind of save for the Enterprise until you've maxed the Enterprise, and then you can max the Discovery because honestly, it's mostly the research that's going to give you the warp range necessary to reach those deep space systems. All right, so there's basically 2 entry-level deep space systems for you to look at to kind of get your mats, and I'll pull them up on the game real quick for you. They're only warp 56, so they're pretty accessible as long as you're keeping up with your research and all that fun stuff. Let's see, I gotta find them again. So one of the systems is called Sotavi. This one has, as you can see here, 4-star gas and 4-star ore. And the other one is right across the way. It's called Nicola. And you can see that it's got 4-star crystal and 4-star ore. They're both Warp 56 areas. So as long as you're able to kind of reach these systems, you'll be fine in regards to mat mining. And depends on your server, but for server 40 we have a NAP, non-aggression pact, in place for deep space. So basically that means there's no PvP. You don't really have to worry about going to OPC and getting blown up. There are, rogues every so often, but, for the most part, everybody kind of abides by the deep space NAP, and you don't have to worry about that. So it kind of makes mining a lot easier. Mine as much as you can, because you'll need a lot of mats, of the raw materials to do your refines. And a side note here is that the common G4 mats are actually a lot more expensive to use lat to purchase compared to the G3 common materials. So start as early as you can. I think 39 is when you can start refining the G4 mats. So keep refining and refine as much and as often as you can to kind of help soften the blow from having to spend lat on common mats. Okay. All right, so the next thing we're really going to talk about is going to be reputation and G4 ship strategy. This can be a really long topic. I'm going to try and cover the basics of it here today. So from a rep standpoint, I'll talk about rep first. Make sure you have all three factions, first locked, before you start going and continuing your rep grind into the G4 ship type rep territory, okay? So it kind of just makes things easier as you progress, because if you don't first lock your rep right away, then what happens is that it just makes it harder to dig yourself out the hole once you've been able to reach second lock. And I don't know if everybody knows, but there is a second lock right now, and second lock is at 1 billion, so champion rep of each faction. It sounds intimidating, but if you're a good and hard grinder, you can probably reach that point in for me it was about 2 months per faction, and I've managed to second lock all three factions so far, and actually continue on to kind of go into G5 territory. But that's a topic for another day. All right, so once you've triple first locked all your factions, then you can look at what you want to do moving forward. And I would really recommend having a dual faction strategy. I know it takes longer, it does, but by the time you've second locked one of the factions, the second faction that you'll have is going to be close to being glorified, which is a very, it's like 440 million rep. It's a decent level as well. Now, what most people are doing, and it's because it's the easiest way to do it, is they do a dual faction strategy that's Federation / Romulan. This means shooting Klingons all day, okay? And the way to do it, or the place to do it, is Taigo Core. If we go look at Taigo Core, hold on. I used to live in Taigo Core all day. I've got good memories from it. But, here's Taigo Core. It's full of only, transports. And these things give you great rep. They're veteran transports. A single, a base rep from one of these is, you can see, 8,000 Federation rep and then 4,000 Romulan rep. So, this is kind of what a lot of people have chosen to do. And it's what I actually did when I went through that rep grind. And I would still recommend it, because it's the fastest way to kind of get yourself into that G4 territory. Now, if you tried to go with just Klingon, or a Klingon / Romulan approach, or a Klingon / Federation approach, things would be a lot harder. For Klingon Federation, I would say, there's a system up here right above Romulus, Iota Pavonis, that has kind of the similar mix, but it's not all veteran transports. You also get some explorers in there, and these veteran transports are not as powerful. Oh, and that's one of the other things that I wanted to say. The more power a ship has, basically the more rep it gives you. So it's a good thing if it's a higher power transport, as long as you can kill a decent amount of them. And for Taigo Core grinding, as long as you have a G3 Epic, that's probably tier 4, tier 5, you can get a decent amount of rep in per run to make it worthwhile to kind of continue to go back there to do your rep grind. And, the other thing I wanted to say about Taigo Core and your rep grind is that you don't really have to slow down, because a lot of people are worried about their faction dailies and whether or not they can do it. And I've heard this both ways, but for me, when I was doing it, I think the game was bugged a bit because I was able to kind of continue and do all of my faction dailies in Taigo Core. Even when it was telling me to kill faction ships that were level, let's say 42 or higher, I was killing level 39, level 40s in Taigo Core, and it was counting towards my faction kill 25 dailies. And now that hasn't been the case for some of my alliance mates that are kind of in that same scenario, but it's also been the case for some of my other alliance mates. So I don't understand how that works. Maybe it's kind of the luck of the draw, but I would say, don't slow down, keep going, and maybe you'll get lucky like I did. And have it count. I think it stopped counting when I got to either commended or glorified. And commended is at 140 million rep, and glorified is at 440 million rep. All right, so now we're going to touch real quick on some of the G4 ships. So by Ops 42, you're able to get your first G4 warship out. It's a G4 uncommon ship. And, there's three options. The Klingon one is called the Katinga. It's a battleship. The Federation one is the USS Kelvin. It's an interceptor. And the Romulan one is called the Valdor. It's an explorer. Out of these G4 uncommons, my favorite one is the Valdor, because it seems that it's the most powerful one of the bunch, okay? The G4 interceptor for the Federation, the Kelvin, is a good ship. It's also, one of the easier ships to get, so a lot of people have it. But it is a good ship. I mean, it does decent damage. It's got, decent mitigation and all that stuff. And it kind of just, it's like a workhorse. It gets you what you need. And why would you want to get one of the G4 uncommons? You can choose to skip it and wait for the rare, but if you do that route, you'll have to kind of upgrade the ISS Jelly so you can continue to do your dailies. But honestly, I would say get one, not two, but get one of the G4 uncommons. Just kind of tide yourself over unless you're really doing a lot of pushing to be able to kind of get to a G4 rare really quick. Most people aren't kind of in that boat, so I'd say, get a G4 uncommon out, be it the Kelvin or the Valdor, up to you. I got the Kelvin myself because it was, I think it was easier for me to get because of the Federation rep and the Taigo Core grinding. So, and and I didn't really use it to grind. I wouldn't really use the G4 uncommons to grind hostiles too much, just because the repair costs are significantly higher compared to where your G3 epics are, and also because Taigo Core grinding is so awesome. I actually spent all my time in Taigo Core until I got to champion lock on Federation with a G3 epic, my USS Enterprise, to kind of to do all my rep grinding over there. I didn't use the Kelvin at all then. So what did I use the Kelvin for? Well, I used it for PvP, and I used it to kind of continue to do my missions. I also used it to kind of continue to do my faction kill dailies every day. Once it got to the point where I was like glorified in the Taigo Core, the Taigo Core hostiles weren't counting towards that daily kill count as well. Oh, and a real quick aside here, back to rep, because I think I forgot to mention it before, was that when you're doing your rep grind, make sure you have the right research in place, okay? A lot of that rep research is going to be in two components. Most of it's in Galaxy tab, so we'll pull up the Galaxy tab, and you scroll over. The first three that you'll see right here are their apprentice researches, so make sure you try and max those as you can. And after that is a bunch of research called devotion. So the thing about the devotion research, if you look here, it says, increases plus minus Federation points using a Federation ship. All right, so this is another reason why the Jellyfish is actually not a good ship for rep grinding, because it's actually considered an independent ship classification. It's a Terran ship. It's a Terran Empire ship. It's not a Federation ship. It's not Klingon or Romulan or anything like that. So the bonus and the bonus research here that you get that increases your rep. You don't get that with the ISS Jelly. So this is why if you say, I'm going to go primary Federation and secondary Romulan, then you should probably be grinding with the USS Enterprise, because you'll get more bonus rep for every hostile that you kill. You don't have to kill as many to kind of, lock. At the same point, if you're saying, if if your secondary rep is like Romulan and you're seeing that gap grow and you say, you know, I want to keep it kind of a bit closer just so it doesn't make that much, so it's not that painful for me when I lock Federation, then, you know, use an auger. Because that means, you know, you get, you know, your base Federation rep, which is already higher in Tycho Core, but you also get bonus Romulan rep. So it kind of makes it more, you know, in line with what you're trying to accomplish in your rep. So a lot of people don't recognize this because I still see some people grinding with an ISS Jelly, a rep grinding with an ISS Jelly, and I just don't recommend it. And this is the reason why, okay? And then the third bucket of research that you'll find is in the away team research. This requires a lot of away team credits, so you won't max it right away. I haven't even maxed all of mine. But right here you see, you know, Federation, Klingon, and Romulan notoriety. That's the research that you can kind of work on as you level to kind of help even further increase your rep gain per hostile killed. So, all right, so that was a real quick segue onto rep when we were talking about the kind of the ships and your ship strategy. Okay, so research. You know, I'm going to touch base on this real quick because you should always be, you know, continuing research. But specifically, you know, what should you be researching as you're, you know, going into Ops 38 and higher? You know, first off is a lot of territory research. Just make sure that you're caught up in things like the, you know, efficient research, the efficient ship grade, efficient ship upgrades, efficient construction. So that's kind of your Mat Saver research, that bucket right there. Some of the PvP stuff is pretty good, so research that as you can. It takes a lot of ISO, takes a lot of particles. Not everybody has access to that. But in addition to some of that, make sure you're doing your like optimized research. This stuff kind of is your resource saver. So, you know, a lot of your research, a lot of your building upgrades are going to start costing a lot of basic resources, and this will kind of help you with that in the territory tab. Now, aside from that, you know, you've got your station research here. Make sure you're, you know, doing your station research as appropriate. And I'm still going to try and find it, but, you know, things like your building efficiency research is definitely important. Your research efficiency research is going to be important. And also just kind of your, you know, faction ship structure research, repair costs, and repair speed research. You know, do those as you can when you're leveling up, so that can help you save on some of those basic resources, because, you know, that's going to cost a lot going into the G4 territory. And it used to be one of the primary paywalls that Scopely used to kind of get you to shut out more money for the game. Okay, so the last area that I really want to kind of touch base on real quick is rating. So rating throughout your late 30s, I guess from 34 through about 39, is really important for Parasteel. Okay, so that's when your buildings are starting to cost a significant amount of Parasteel, yet it's still at a point where rating kind of makes sense to spend your time to do that. As you hit 40, though, I would argue that Parasteel costs, when they're in the billions, it's not as efficient from a time usage standpoint to rate for Parasteel. Rating is still useful, but definitely don't rate for Parasteel. Rate for dilithium, because Dilly, your research costs are going to start to go up, and Dilly is still an important factor that you can still rate for and still be time efficient. Because as I recall, your initial research in G4 territory is going to cost anywhere between 50 to 100 million Dilly per research. It sounds like a lot. It is a lot. It gets worse, as it always does. But, at the 50 to 100 to 200 Dilly per research mark, it actually still makes sense for you to raid. And it does make sense for you to raid for Dilly, and just not so much for Para. So I would say, in your late 30s, all throughout 30s, focus on raiding for Para. And then starting in your 40s, just raid for Dilly. And after that, basically don't raid. So that's what I wanted to say about raiding. And today's video has gone on for quite a while. I've been trying to keep the videos to be about 10 to 15 minutes. So thank you for your patience. And if you're spending more than, let's say, $200 a month, more than $500 a month, be sure to tune into the next video, which is really going to talk more about pack strategy, as well as should you push up and when to push up. All right, thank you, and don't forget to click the subscribe button below. Leave comments for me if you have any ideas in regards to what I should do for future videos. I'm always open ears to that. So thanks again. This is Zal signing off.